Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tano Tastes.
Tano Taste is where we review shochu, and we have a lot of shochu in our collection. So I'm Fletch.
I'm Kev.
And we're Tano Spirits. We are a Melbourne shochu distillery.
Yeah. We can call ourselves a distillery. We don't have a still yet, but
we're a registered business.
We are a business.
So today we're going to go through and talk about this week's shochu. And this week's shochu is a Kome Shochu, which is a rice shochu.
Rice shochu. Yeah.
Rice shochu.
We may have mentioned on a previous episode that koji is almost always made with rice, but this is, in this instance, the koji is rice, but then also the base ingredient is rice, as opposed to it being barley or sweet potato.
Or whatever else it is.
Or whatever else they've used to
Whatever
make
else
it.
it is.
Yeah.
This one's called Fuhito, and I'll try to put this up to the camera and see if it'll focus on it. Come on, focus.
Kind of.
It likes people to focus.
Yeah.
That should work.
That's it.
Yeah. It's easier if I put my head up here. The camera will see that I'm a person. So this is it. So this is the Fuhito Kome Shochu. Where's it from?
Where is it from? So it is from the Kutsuru Distillery, located in Kurame, Fukuoka, or Fukuoka Prefecture in Kyushu. In Kyushu, we covered one last week. That was from Kyushu. That's the southern island. This is the northern end of the southernmost island. Kyushu, very well known for its sweet potato shochu, but this is a rice shochu.
It's like a semi-tropical kind of area, but being in the north, it's a little, I don't know, it's north.
It's more north than the south end of Kyushu. This distillery, brewery, is also known for making sake. And what's interesting about this particular shochu is it is made in the sake brewing method, which is a little bit different to the shochu method, which we hadn't really gone too deep into the weeds on how to make shochu yet. But safe to say, in this instance, it is what is called a 3-stage fermentation process. Do you want to explain a little bit more about 3-stage fermentation?
Yeah, so they'll do a fermentation of the koji and a little bit of rice. And then they will add a larger volume of rice in the second stage. And then on the third stage, they will add an even larger volume of rice. So what this actually means or does is that for each stage, the yeast get more excited and they eat more, and it produces a bit more alcohol with each stage. It also affects the flavour profile. We know...
Why not just add all the rice in one go?
Because then the yeast will just eat at a steady rate.
Right, okay.
So you actually want to... It's the same with shochu. You want to build up a big base of yeast.
Starter, yeah.
Like a big starter, right? And it's very common with makgeolli, actually. Like if you're doing multi-stage makgeolli, you add a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and you actually boost the ABV of your drink. Right, okay. Because the yeast gets, with each addition of a little more rice, it just boosts that alcohol and eats a bit more and a bit more.
And it doesn't stress the yeast out. So if you were to imagine, like, if you were to give me like 10 kilos of rice and say, Kevin, eat that, I'd be like, nah. But if you were to give me like, a few kilos of rice every few days, I could probably manage that. Is that kind of a similar sort of thing?
Very similar.
Yeah.
Like if you dump all of it in at the same time, it'll actually stress the yeast a bit more because there's so much food, right?
Right, yeah.
So, and we'll get into a bit of this when, like, Awamori is kind of an exception with that.
Okay.
But we'll get into that a bit later. Things that we know about this, we know for a fact, and we might have mentioned this earlier in a Tano taste, that there are some shochus that are made with yellow koji, which is not too common because it's mostly a sake koji. But this one is actually made out of yellow koji. That might have to do with the fact that it's
made in the sake style.
Sake brewery. Oh, the other very interesting thing about this is that because it's made like a sake, it's actually fermented at a very low temperature.
Yeah, that was interesting.
10 to 12 C. It'll probably start high They'll probably start high for the starter.
Okay.
And then they'll drop it down with maybe the second edition or something to 10 to 12C.
Right. And then for those of you who don't know much about fermentation, like what would be the typical shochu fermentation temperature?
20 to 30.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so
20,
this is like
like,
half.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it, especially like sweet potato shochu and stuff, it's subtropical area. So it's higher temperatures in general. So this one's really quite unusual because it's made like a sake, it's done at a lower temperature. That is actually really interesting because it actually points out something to us that we don't usually know. We can kind of pinpoint what the yeast of this is, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeast in a previous episode we said is very difficult for us to know. Distilleries don't tend to publish it.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to find that information on it.
And although they haven't published what yeast this is, if it's made like a sake, there's generally two very, very prevalent sake yeasts. One is the number 7 and one is the number 9. You might see these as 701 and 901, and the 701 and 901 versions are just the non-foaming ones. It doesn't foam as much.
Right, so
sake yeast foam a lot, right? So that's the only difference. There's a couple of other sake yeasts, especially these days, that are becoming more popular. So it could be one of those, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's going to be one of those two.
Okay.
We can tell this because the number 7 will probably be a little more earthy. Now, rice is a flavour profile in general, and yellow koji is a flavour profile in general. It's fairly kind of neutralish, kind of like creamy yellow.
Okay, yeah.
So if it's, say, like quite neutral but a bit earthy in that, it'll be number 7. If, however, it's quite floral and has that kind of like citrusy, like kind of like that, that's a profile of a number 9 sake yeast. It's a lot more like Eastery, a lot more like, And
you'd expect maybe something like that. We'd expect a 901 or 9 yeast for a shochu then.
If you're using a sake yeast for a shochu, like a 901 yeast would probably be preferable to a 7 because it's going to give you a bit more Easters and a bit more of that.
Sake is usually quite a lot more delicate,
that's right,
light flavors, whereas shochu, often you're looking for those kind of more robust flavors that carry over into the distillate.
Yeah. However, we do also know that this one is vacuum distilled.
Yeah. So did we cover some vacuum distilled ones on the last ones? I think
talked a little bit about vacuum distillation.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
Like we haven't gone deeply into it, but vacuum distillation is. You gave a great analogy of. Like, if you're up on the top of Mount Everest and you're boiling water, then the boiling point is much lower.
Much lower, yeah.
And in effect, with a vacuum still, your distillation temperature, I think it's about 50 C.
Something like that, yeah.
Like really, really low. So effectively, you're not actually cooking.
Not cooking it,
Whereas usually with the distillation, you're boiling the shit out of things. This one, you're not actually cooking it. So it actually gives a lot more of those lighter... floral
aromas,
things,
which might be the flavor profile this distillery is chasing. And also, I think it's more typical to see vacuum distilled rice shochus in general.
Yes,
because of that kind of
lightness of the rice,
complementing the flavor. Yeah.
It's a real complementary flavor to the rice. In fact, and that's kind of rice shochus I find to be a very kind of entry level shochu. In a lot of ways, in Australia, you'll see rice shochus in Dan Murphy's or something like that.
Yeah, I think I picked... Oh, no, I didn't pick this up from a Dan Murphy's, but I did pick this up from a local bottle shop.
Yeah. So you'll see that because it's that and barley shochu are pretty good entry-level ones. I think that's pretty much what we got.
I think it's time to give this a try.
We haven't actually poured any yet, so... now we're going to pour some.
Yeah. And for those watching you at home, this is a blue bottle, but it is still a clear spirit.
Yes.
I know some people might think that, spirits are coloured or, but it always comes out as still clear. And because under Honkaku Shochu guidelines, there can never be anything added to a shochu after it comes off the still. So there can never be any colour.
To a certain point, which we'll cover in aged shochus.
So, although it's a nice looking blue bottle, it is clear inside. So anyway,
Kanpai.
Kanpai.
Well, I'm going to smell it first. So
okay, yeah.
A little creamy, in a way.
Yeah.
It's got that creaminess that I would associate with like a. I have my yellow koji flavor profile. I always have creamy.
It's very light.
Yeah, it's very light.
I had a rice shochu actually a couple of weeks ago up at Mount Hotham. They have one up there at the bar. It was quite nice. It had much more of a kind of sharper aroma on the nose. This one's a lot more balanced. Like you say, creamy. Yeah, not citrusy, more creamy.
It's not as floral as some rice shochus that I've tried. Like it has like all rice shochus, especially vacuum distilled shochus, will have that kind of like florally thing. So we've got our little flavor wheel here, right? So every so often I will kind of look at this and we'll look at this. It smells sweet. I'm going to try it now.
Yeah. I've tried this before. It's been open for a while. And this tastes a lot different, but maybe it's because I haven't returned to it straight in a while.
It's dry.
Yeah.
It's a dry. It's dry, but it has, like, most rice shochus will have a touch of sweetness to it.
It is, yeah. There's a creaminess there a bit, but there is this definitely sharper on the back palate.
Little banana.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Little hint of banana, maybe.
Yeah. It's quite nice. But shall we try it with some ice?
Yeah, we need some ice. You know what? We're gonna put some ice on this one. So, adding ice to shochu is mizuwari. Mizuwari.
And it goes quite well, generally speaking, with
rice.
With rice. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Although I did when we were researching this one, they did mention something about it being good hot as well, which I've never heard of on a Kome Shochu.
I generally would not have a Kome Shochu with hot water. I'm actually trying to now think on, have I had a Kome Shochu with hot water? I don't know. I prefer it that way.
Yeah, this takes the sharpness right out of it, smooths it all out.
It is a little sharp, right? I was getting that like kind of dry, sharp, like
citrusy kind of slightly. But when you put the ice in it, actually sometimes the ice might make it more sharp because you've dropped the temperature so much. Whereas this makes it.
This is the magic of shochu, though, right?
Yeah,
like it transforms.
Yeah,
like,
it's a little bit of dilution. Temperature changes because I don't know, because I guess because it's so like single distilled, you retain so many of the oils and the volatiles from the base ingredient that adding water or ice to it can really change the flavor.
There's putting ice into this. There's something in there that I actually very, very slight hint of it that I don't like. It's like an acetal kind of like a like that. Maybe not maybe headsy a little, but like it's just that acetal.
Now this is melted a bit more. I get what you mean. It sort of sits in
there.
It sort of sits in the
It's masked at a higher ABV and straight, but down on the ice. But honestly, like this is still so. Kome Shochu is the kind of shochu that I will take to a hot summer's day barbecue.
Yep.
If I didn't have a bottle of Awamori.
Yeah, this would be very good, and I know we won't. Something I also want to explore more with shochu as well is its use in cocktails, and I think something like this, with its kind of citrusy, some of the citrusy notes might go very well in a cocktail with like I've been trying it with some lime. Some soda water might just bring it up. The effervescence might bring it up a bit.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
Oh,
I think this would actually get lost in a shochu.
You reckon? In a cocktail?
In a cocktail. I think it would get lost. I mean, it would have to be a specific cocktail. I can see it might be good with obviously rice shochu and yuzu and citrus.
Yep.
Would be really good. I don't know that this has a strong enough flavor profile to.
Maybe
it would have to be. It would have to be a high ratio.
Yeah, you probably put a double shot of this in here.
Yeah. Then it could work.
Maybe with half a squeeze of lime.
Very approachable.
Yeah.
Very honestly, this is the kind of shochu that I would give to somebody that hasn't had shochu. It's another entry level kind of one.
Yep.
It's not too complicated. It's really, really easy to drink.
Very easy.
Which is a
again
good thing.
25% ABV.
Gone.
Yeah, not my Kome Shochu is not my favorite shochu. I'll say it. I used to be a emo shochu person. Now I've moved more to barley as being my preferred ingredient. Rice has never been my favorite. Or at least this kind of rice has never been my favorite. But as Fletch said, it's a very approachable shochu.
Yeah. Would drink it again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure I've got a bottle over there as well, and it's pretty much as empty as this. So, so yeah, look, it's really nice. I could recommend it. It has a couple of little drawbacks to it, I think, but all in all, like if you want to start with good,
it's not an offensive shochu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's familiar enough if you have had sake before. There's similar notes there.
Hyoku suru shuzo, sake shochu fuhito.
Yeah.
Everything that we saw online, it just called it fuhito. But the label here says Hyoku suru shuzo.
Well, that's the name of the distillery.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, all right, that's it.
That's it.
Thank you for joining us on Tano Tastes. Got it right this time.
He did.
If you aren't subscribing to us, please subscribe. We're going to be doing these fairly regularly and follow our whole journey as we embark on creating a Melbourne-based Shochu and Awamori and Asian spirits. And whatever we can kind of do in that vein.
And hopefully soon we will have a Tano taste where we're actually tasting our own product.
Yeah.
But in the meantime...
and be doing these videos in a different scenario.
Yes, with a still in the background. Waiting for that.
Anyways, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you in the next video.